Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. I have a return guest. I have Amy Palacios on, as well as her friend Lisa. Amy Palacios was last on the show, season 3, episode 147. Now, the background is both these women are healthcare providers and they are being extorted from family court to pay their abusive exes. And what's happening is the victims are paying these abusers in family court, which is an extension of domestic violence. And I know a lot of people don't realize the courts can be corrupt, but this one in particular, and this is in Cabarrus County. Hi, Amy. Am I
Yes,
right?
I'm in Cabarrus County in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from in Oklahoma.
Okay. This is terrible. So tell me what's going on.
Yeah. Amy, you want?
You can start. You can start.
So it's always like they try to make it looks like it's a custody thing, and they leave out all the information. Whereas like I gave him joint custody the whole time, and I never like, okay, I want sole custody. And I came to Oklahoma with already divorce degree on my hand, finalized from another state. And but he withheld a child from me for every day. I say, hey, when can I see her next? And it took like 2 months later, he still hasn't let me see her because he's like 3 times my size. And I can't fight him. And I called the cop to help. I'm like, look, I have joint custody and unhampered time. Can you help me? And they say, no, they couldn't. Please go get a lawyer. And I'm like, So I just tried again. And then I think like 2-3 times I call, and every time they don't help. And they don't even look at the degree, and they just like go get a lawyer. And that was a mistake that I followed their instruction. But I should have just hired some big guy, beat him up. I'm just kidding. But like you never know. Like once you hire a lawyer, they let you down this rabbit hole, and they don't really help. So before I had her all the time, and we have witnesses. All these years I took care of both of them because he was sick and disabled and have like social security disability, couldn't work. So I took care of both of them. And here I am having to go to hire a lawyer. And after the hearing, I don't know what my lawyer said. It turned out because we don't have a set schedule. So he now have every other week. Like he got rewarded for kidnapping. I mean, for withholding a child. And I didn't know about, parental, what you call those?
Alienation.
Yes. Or like you prevent someone from seeing the kid, you're gonna lose custody. I didn't know that. Well, my lawyer didn't tell me.
Custodial interference.
Yes, see, and I didn't know, and I was just like innocent, and I'm like, huh? Why? And then she like, well, it's just a temporary order, it'll be okay. And I thought temporary means okay, we'll have a hearing in 2 weeks. We'll get somebody, witness on the stand. Well, temporary turned out to be like 4-5 years. And all this time is abuse after abuse. I keep on telling the lawyer, like, why does he get to not do any homework, skipping schools, and then I have to do all the homework during my week, like 100%, and catch up. And I'm so tired. I'm working full time, and I have to like do homework with her, catching up every other week, and all these other abuses that I didn't want to mention here, but like go into sexual grooming and physical abuse and emotional abuse, medical neglect, dental neglect, and child endangering, like driving a kid with no car seat or unrestrained, or because he doesn't believe in seatbelt. And he doesn't believe in shots either. And so, and lies after lies, and the school, know about it, and the school, start recognizing it too. And yes, and all that. And still, you know, they don't do anything. And they keep on telling me to come in. I was innocent. I didn't know the legal system
Ugh.
was deceptive and against you. So they keep on telling me to come in and sit down and talk to him. And I'm like, okay. So I brought in evidence. I talked to the lawyers. And I'm like, why am I keep on talking to you and like nothing happened? Like, why are we not in court? And they keep on sending bills after bills. And uh one guy, so the first lawyer retired, and then the second one, like $20,000 bill in the end. I'm like, are you gonna file some motion, like do something?
Mhm.
Because why am
They
I
do
like, you're
nothing.
not my therapist, like I'm not, you're not a judge, and I keep on presenting you keep on telling me to keep all your evidence, keep all your evidence, document everything. That's all they say, right?
Mhm.
And I feel
Mhm.
like it's a complaining session. I'm not one of those that like to complain. I'm like, I don't need to complain,
Right, you
you know?
have the evidence.
They
Right.
charge you like $20,000 a month just to have a lawyer, and they absolutely do nothing.
Mhm.
Oh, it wasn't a month. It was like I forgot, a couple months here, but they were like $200-300, 2 3 to 350, sometimes up to 500 an hour here, in Oklahoma. It can run around there, you know. And so 350 was the highest I had to pay, after some discounts. But
Mhm.
yes, it's insane. And then like and CPS, someone keep on calling CPS. I found out like on him. And then they finally called me in, and I was surprised, and I'm like, because I didn't know about CPS.
Mm-mm.
So I was like, oh, okay. So they told me, well, there's 5 people I had called, 5 people
Oh,
already, and this is the 5th one, and they call from different states because he drive her and sat in my truck, and people saw him like, why is this old man by, my daughter? And my daughter apparently disclosed that like, he brought her to, it saw like some old man swimming around her that was naked or whatever.
oh no.
And so I was accused, instead of like, hey, your child is this, you should have the kids. And while we investigate, well, they made me feel like uh scared, because they're like, your failure to protect, you're bad. And I'm like, I don't even live in the same house every other week. How am I failure to protect? Well, they accuse me and I freak out, and I'm like, so I had to tell the higher lawyer, instead of like, what, why can't I just represent I didn't know, right? And so they have to accuse the innocent mom. I had to hire a lawyer at the end of that case, $18,000 bill. And I'm the innocent one, like just a bystander. This is sitting in there.
And
That's
Um,
they're trying to make me pay my abuser's lawyer bill of like almost $16,000, and he
wow.
was in jail for beating me up, and they
Mhm.
want me to pay his lawyer bill.
That is crazy. And did they order it already, or?
Yes, I have a court order that says that Jay
Mhm.
White, that I'm supposed to pay it to Jay White and then pay him $70,000. My second ex-husband, Brad Urban, that was in jail for 2 convictions of criminal assault on a female. He also has been on the news for, or had a whole article about how he beat up a police officer. He was walking around the jail naked. In 2019, and painting the walls with poop, the floors with poop. There's a whole entire report. And then he broke the sprinkler systems in the jail, acting crazy. I mean, they couldn't even, handle him. And that's another felony charge. But yeah, he's allowed to be around the kids. He does have supervised visitation with his parents, but it's kind of like I have a complete joint custody order with the parents. The parents have my kids every other weekend, my younger 2. I have sole custody. It says I have sole custody.
Mhm.
But and he has supervised visitation overnights, but he still can drive them during the day. Somebody that has, had these high speed police chases, been, chased down by the police, had multiple like high speed car things. And
Mhm.
even before I knew him, I didn't even know about all that stuff. But part of like the bipolar diagnosis, and you don't know at any point that he could just flip and start drinking, drugging, and driving off with my kids somewhere. And he only has the supervised overnights, so he's allowed to pick them up from school every other week, which is terrifying for me.
Mhm.
Because I mean, honestly, it would be night and day. Like on a Tuesday, he would be acting normal. On a Thursday, he's dragging me across the house, beating me up, trying to kill me. So his flipping is very extreme and very quickly.
Oh, yes.
And my kids can't protect themselves.
Mm-mm. And also, Amy, you have a judge's order that you don't have to pay child support.
I had a judge order for the first ex-husband. So the first ex-husband, Matthew Bledsoe, and the second ex-husband, Brad Urban, they're working together with the same crooked lawyer, Jay White, who is over everything. He's over DSS child support. He's over DSS child welfare. He's over the school board. He's over, he was recently over the county. He just got taken off the county. So he was the county attorney. He was filtering all the complaints from the bar up until like about a month ago, for Cabarrus County. So everything that was going, like he was getting it ended. So everything that I was complaining to the bar about him was just not even being heard. And then so once I was told that, I reopened the bar complaint, and the people called me from the bar last week, like, who is Amy Palacios? Like, they didn't even know who I was. Well, my email changed within the middle of my 18 months of bar complaint. Amy Urban email was completely full. It wouldn't even work. It was just completely full. And so I changed my email to Amy Palacios, and I got married. And I mean, I've been married for over a year and a half. So I'm still sending the same caseworker all the evidence, all the everything that you have to send, as you see more things that you see more things that the lawyer does wrong. Well, come to find out, they were acting like I was a total different person. Like Amy Palacios wasn't Amy Urban, and like they just they closed the case. You didn't have any more complaints, and I'm like, I continued to have complaints. Like, it never stopped. I never stopped. He's still doing it. I'm sending you another thing where he just got another order for me to pay child support to my first ex-husband, which is extortion. I have a temporary kidnapping order, essentially, because I have a guardian ad litem from a fake, same kind of thing, made up that I was the one abusive, to get my kids kidnapped. First, when he found out I was engaged, he took 2 of them. And then when he found out I was about to get married, he took the other 2. And then I never had a hearing. Never once did I have a hearing to defend myself for any of it. And they, like you said, having a lawyer was worse, because they just make a decision. They say, oh, we're not even going to have a hearing. This is what's going to be done to you. While we decide what's going on, you can have supervised visitation and whatever it was, like, and I had sole custody of my younger 2 kids, every other week of the middle 2, of the other 2, and then the other 2 I'm having supervised visitation with. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, just because they're trying to manipulate, attack, harass, and Lynn has a similar story now. And so, we're just calling like a 911 call for justice, because our attack is very similar. We're both providers. We're both medical providers. But they changed our income. Like they use my income from this child support.
They inflated it.
They
Like,
inflate
multiple times.
And they deflate theirs. And then,
Yes.
you're even, have a small child at home that you've been at home with, and not having an income, where my income was completely changed, because I went from 3 buildings to 1, and I had 3 buildings for a short period of time, for the period of time in 2021, because we knew we were going to be losing another doctor. So there was no reason for us to hire another nurse practitioner. So I just toughed it out and had like a higher.
So they use the highest income that you have, and then they multiply that highest one on top. It was a fluke 1 month, right? And then they multiply yours. They should have used the average of yours 3 years, or the average of 1 year, and they don't follow the guideline of the child.
Well, the guidelines even says the last 3 paychecks, or the last 2 paychecks. So you can't, the last 3 months before, I had that made the exact same as him. Okay. And when we go into court, they're saying I'm making double or triple what he's making. and it's not even true. And I asked, they said, I had, consult with a lawyer, and they said, they have to give you his paychecks. They have to give you everything that he has. They can't, if you request it, they have to give it to you. I asked in open court and they refused. The judge on stand, Judge Cloninger, said, nope, I don't have to let you, I don't have to let you see his paychecks. You have to subpoena them. I said, well, how do I subpoena them without a judge? Like, I'm not a lawyer. I can't subpoena them before the thing when you're already subpoenaed to give them. Okay. We're already subpoenaed to give them. He has my checks in front of him, sitting with the DSS child social work person. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even have DSS. DSS has never taken my kids. I've never had any kind of they couldn't even create stuff enough to, like they're doing to you or like they're doing to everybody else, because
Mm-hmm.
I was already on these social media platforms exposing it all. I mean, because this has been going on for me for 14 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like
your kids
initial
are older. Your kids are older too, and so they couldn't put like words into the kid's mouth, or pretend or like they couldn't brainwash your kid what they couldn't.
Oh, they do. So
they
they
wouldn't able
said
to
my
threaten,
kids.
I will kill your mom if you're gonna
Yep, they
stop
say the
about
same
you.
stuff to them. They say
Oh,
the
they
same
did?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
It's worse when they're older, because when they're older, they actually, the more the abuser attacks you, your kid will actually start attacking you like the abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to domestic violence classes for, I was court ordered to go to 12 weeks of domestic violence classes, not my abuser, not Matthew Bledsoe. And I was in this class with all these women that I was the only one that had custody of my kids. And the other people, the one lady was put into the ICU, beaten almost to death by her husband, and her son, that was a teenager, used a baseball bat on her. So these kids that you groomed, you're the one that took care of, you're the one that did everything for them. You're the one that gave them discipline. You're the one that did everything for them. Like, they can turn on you in a heartbeat with these abusers, because they don't fear you, they fear them. So they will turn on you in a heartbeat.
I feel like when they grow up, it's like they being abused so much that they have to let it out. That anger, that resentment, that hate, and they don't know how to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Only on innocent people, kind people, or their mom, because they know their mom not gonna get mad at them, right? So that's the psychology behind it, is when people being abused, they turn out to be abusive. And they will attack whoever nearest to them, just to feel in control, because their whole life they couldn't be in control. And I feel like that's why they did it. And my daughter used to attempt to do that once too. Like, I noticed a pattern when she come back. And I had to put a boundary down like right away to stop it. I'm like, just because someone is mean to you, you don't be mean to other people. And then I also say, well, and they start to do this thing where they threaten you, as if you need them. And I'm like, no, child, I love you, I want you to be with me, but your world doesn't revolve around you. And I don't need you. Do you want me to drive you back to your dad right now, and you be with him forever? And she started crying. She's like, no,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at right now with my oldest, because my oldest behavior can influence my other kids, So if I give her a boundary, and she's almost 18, she, and she just will attack me. And then it's not only that will she attack me, she will go to my family. She'll go to anyone that will listen, my ex-husband, just go on and on and on and on about how I'm the bad guy. No, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. You're not the one doing everything for them. You're not doing, completely everything for them, giving them everything they have, putting, when you put a boundary and say, you're not going to behave this way to me, this is what's going to happen. And she didn't want to drive together, so she put her other sister at risk. She drove her car. I I had a feeling, let's don't drive two separate cars. Not only did I just get an order to pay $3,000 a month to your dad, so I don't want to pay another $300 in gas, but like, I don't feel comfortable. And that happened that night. My second daughter's brand new, like I had just, it's not a brand new car, but new to her, less than 6 months. Infinity SUV gets hit by a deer. She gets hit by a deer, and she didn't have the car still. Like all the places are backed up. Like it's, you know, a $3,000 fix. It's a lot of, and a whole nother, you know, expense. And so, you know, other people around will do something, even her own sister, to attack you and be like, oh, well, we're just going to go and do this because they want to suffice the one behaving like a narcissist. Okay. She's been taught to behave like a narcissist. She's become the narcissist. But the only thing that changes that, and we've been in the midst of a 3-day prayer for the justice system, is God. You know, the Jezebel spirit, that demonic spirit, that evil witchcraft, worldly spirit of me, myself, and I. If I don't get what I want now, I'm going to attack you, and I'm going to attack you in front, around everybody else around you until I get what I want. That is not the child there. That's a demonic spirit. That's a demonic evil. That is a worldly spirit that you can break in the spirit. So we have the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ to stand over all these abusers. We have the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ to stand over the court system. We can set, you know, break with the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ that justice will be now. We call in order for justice to be now. We command that parenting be established now, that reality, that these children get a ground that they need. They get a solid ground that they need, that they're not wavering on this, sand, that they just think that they can explode it. If they continue to behave this way, they're not going to ever be able to have authority. They're not going to ever be able to have like a job. Like my second ex-husband has had, 24 jobs since I've known him. So they can't, follow rules. They just do whatever they want. Like my second ex-husband has never owned a house. He's never had anything like that if someone else isn't on it. So like everything he's had, either I was giving to him or providing for him, or his parents were providing for him, or his sister was providing for him, or his brother. He lived with both his sister and his brother at separate times. All of those people committed him. His parents have committed him. His sister has committed him. His brother has committed him. I haven't even had to commit him because the police committed him, or somebody else committed him because he was attacking me. You know what I mean? So it's, the thing is you let these children act like this. And when they get to be adults, you want to know why, because you never parented them. You let, his parents let them drink and party with him. And by the time he was going to college, he was an alcoholic. That's your parents' fault. That's your parenting skills. So if you didn't say, oh, no, that's not okay. Oh, you don't take them to church and say, this is how you behave and this is not how you behave. I'm not saying that kids don't make mistakes, but if you just let people do whatever they want and live like the world and say that's okay, like literally he would go to the mental health hospital and come home and be drinking with his family. And they didn't think the drinking part was the problem. But the drinking and the drugs were the reason he was acting the way that he was. It wasn't, I'm just bipolar. That's, that's an excuse. Okay. That's a mental health excuse for your drug and alcohol problem.
So I also have other nurses friend, and they were like always taking care of the kids by themselves with no help, no financial help, no kid skills help. Like they don't teach them all the skills and writing and reading, and the mom does it all. And she also lost her custody. The other guy have sole custody too. And I think of 99% of the Christian women that I talk to in church, I turn around because when they don't tell you until you tell them the story, and then they start, oh, me too, and then you're like, look at all these women, all wonderful, nice, loving moms, all lost their custody. But the world, don't know about it, and they think like, oh, lawyers cannot be that bad. The court, the family court cannot be that bad. And I'm like, you don't know until you're in it. And I'm
Mhm.
glad you don't join in and put your 1 foot in, because once you're in 1 foot, they'll keep on dragging you in and add more stuff, and then
Mhm.
eventually they'll chop you up. That's how I feel like. Because
Mhm.
first, it just abuse, pretend to be, I'm like, pretend to be your therapist, I guess, like come in to complain. Like, and I'm like, you're not the therapist to listen to my complaint. Okay. You need to do something to protect the child.
Mhm.
Uh, well, instead of filing and giving evidence directly to the court, they added Guardian Ad Litem. I didn't know that's optional, and I didn't know. I thought it was required, but turned out later I know it's optional.
And they're
Right.
useless.
Yes,
And
they
they,
use it and they make it worse. They make it worse because they
Yes.
lie and they fabricate things and they make things worse than it is. And they don't do their job. They just do their money collecting, and the longer they drag it out, the more money they have. So
Mhm.
so they would lie about the good parent, because if they tell the truth, then it will end it all, then the other guy would lose custody, and where's their meal ticket? So they
true.
tell a lie. They pretend that there was no child endangering. Like, I even sent him the picture, of her unrestrained in his truck, his semi truck, and all these things.
Can I
And
ask you, Lisa, how old is your ex?
my ex is 14 years older than me. He's like 50 something. And I'm 30 somethings. And when I marry him, I look very young, and people like, that's a sign that, he is liking young person that look like 12-year-old, and or manipulative, because how
Mhm.
we're younger, we're not as experienced, and we don't know the law, we don't know the world, and it's easier to trick us. So
See,
that's the
and I've noticed a trend. I talked with Connie regularly this week. She was on my podcast, as well as private detective Steve Thomas. And the trend is these older guys are going after hardworking professionals, could be female lawyers, female doctors, and they're using them as their retirement fund. In fact,
Yes.
when the woman calls, they'll say, wait, my retirement account is calling. So, I mean, this should be a
Yes.
lesson or a warning to all women and even guys. I mean, you've
Yes.
got that issue too,
Mm.
but this has been horrible, and I'm so sorry.
It's
So
serious,
I,
it's like, so after that, they want to do, what was it called? Something parenting coordinator. And I'm
that's
like, I'm
horrible.
not rich, I'm not like surgeon, cardiology. No, I'm like just a general practitioner, and even you, nurse practitioner, we're not rich. And then for me, we have all these other student loans
Oh,
and things to
yes.
pay, and they acted like they quote out my income, and they don't quote like, well, didn't you know, like 40% tax, so like all
Yeah.
these things deduction. By the end, you don't have that much. Well, they keep on
Yeah.
going out like, you earn that much a month, you get to spend that much money. I'm like, oh my God, I have $0. I'm eating $1
Oh,
pizza every day to pay bills so we don't become homeless. When he was sick, and we go from like 4 bedroom to 1 bedroom to a trailer, and then become homeless. And I had to, because of his overspending, because they did think that we're just a meal ticket, like you say, and charge everything to your account. I think the lesson I learned and teach other young women is, when you marry, you have to do a credit check, a
mhm.
credit
Have
check and a
separate
background
accounts.
check.
Yes.
Yes, and have separate account. Never, because they manipulate the Bible. They're like, I'm the head of the household. I have to be in charge, and if I'm not in charge, and we're gonna have to divorce. And they threaten divorce using the kid, because you don't want a broken home for your kid, because they know that a Christian, you want to keep the
Mhm.
intact, and you want to keep your promise even when it hurt, because that's the Bible verse. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being trapped in this selfish ambition person very selfish. All he does is take, and he didn't want to serve Jesus. Like he said, that's how he tricked me into marrying him, is I want to serve Jesus with you. I want to do missionary trips, but
He
all he
pulled the
does is take
Christian
and take.
card.
I mean, my first
Yes.
ex-husband said he was a virgin too. And I don't even think that's true.
Mhm.
So he said all this stuff. My first
Mhm.
ex-husband, and he's the marriage that he's in now, he acts like a total different person. Like it's like whoever, and his dad is the same way. He's been married like 3 times, and he keeps having these crazy different lives, like based on whoever that he's trying to get at that time. Like, oh, I'm going to be a yoga instructor now, or no, oh, all of a sudden now I'm going to be vegan, and all of a sudden now I'm going to be weight loss, like let's lose 100 pounds. And like, like you don't even know what person he is. He's been so many different people that to, get whoever he wanted in his life. And he's become that. I don't even know who he is. The person I married was not the person that he is. And it's like a chameleon, like they just wear whatever they have to get what. And so they're very good at manipulation and like to these guardian ad litems or to the judges or to whatever, and they act like there's somebody, and then we look like these emotional basket cases because we're responding to the abuse, and they're like obviously
even
you're unstable.
without emotional response, because I don't I don't do that, right? Even me, like very calm, and it's all about facts, and it doesn't matter if you're perfect or not. The guardian ad litem gonna pretend that it's not there's no abuse,
Right.
and that they're gonna label you as a crazy mom even if you're not crazy. That's the point. And I feel
So get
sorry for these
this.
people who doesn't know how to control their emotion, like because they haven't learned to do that yet, right? Because they're young, and then they use that against them. That's the sad part. And even if you don't react, like me, I don't react, they still use it. They still label me, but that's just the game plan.
Right.
The
Everybody
playbook.
has the same story, right? Everybody has the same story, no matter how you respond. My second ex-husband had a guardian ad litem multiple different times. Jay White actually deemed him in and out of competency like 3 times in 3 years to get out of criminal charges. But then acted like he was competent to have children. How do you do that when you're over the school board? How can you sit in the court and say, and when you're over DSS, child support and child welfare, how can you sit and say the abuser is the more fit parent?
Yep, as if the history of criminal history is not there. Like it's like I was like in my on my bar complaint, I was like, maybe this GA have a memory loss problem. Look at this picture, and I'm like, has he been drinking? Maybe he's drinking, his brain is damaged, because apparently, like, hello, these are the 1, 2, 3.
My guardian ad litem, I recorded the whole conversation. He had one conversation with me. One. Okay. I recorded the whole conversation. The whole entire conversation, he tells me the judge is against me. Everybody's against me. They all think this, and this about me. He's attacking me. So, the minute he, and I sent that to him. Well, it was a consent order. It was a consent order. The judge didn't even order it. My lawyer ordered it. Okay. My lawyer ordered the guardian ad litem. My lawyer signed up for supervised visitation while they investigated what happened. My kid already had told the police that wasn't what his stepmother called out and lied about wasn't true. So it should have been ended right then. Okay. It should have been ended right then. It was the kid, 3 kids down, that they said that kid wasn't even in the room, said that kid said what she said was true. That kid wasn't even there. She wasn't even in the room. She wasn't even existing there. So when they say your daughter said this, it wasn't even the right daughter. It was I have 6 kids. So
yes,
they
play that game a lot.
They twist the words.
Oh yes, they do.
Oh, this is not even like, twisting is benign, This is a blatantly opposite of what you say. Like if you say I love my mom, they'll be like, I hate my mom. That's what they quote my daughter. They say they took my daughter away, and they quote like, oh, she told me that you did these horrible, crazy things like that I should be in jail for. And she also told me that she hates you and she loves her dad only, and she never want to see you again. Is exactly opposite of what she wrote in her diary. Because in her diary, like, I'm scared of my dad. I don't want, I pray every night. I don't want to see him again because why does he scream and yell and beats me? You know, like all these disclosure, and why does, you know, like he does this and that, and yet here they are misquoting public, like corruption, lying, fabricating things, um, to hurt kids. I feel like their calling is not to help kids but to hurt the kids, and to, in the end, to get money.
That
And
So
yes,
the
and they
Guardian
will
Ad
say
Litem,
all of us victims are all
Mhm.
with hardworking women, nurses, providers, hardworking women. But if we were like lazy, sit around, does nothing, no ambition, or we, you know, if we start doing drugs and drinking alcohol, then they
Yeah.
will leave us alone and they will give us our kids back and we will have full custody.
And the thing is,
that's
I
crazy.
think these courts are doing this to create personality disorders in our children.
Right.
It's that way they can continue the wheel of family court, because when those kids grow up, they'll be in family court at
Yes.
some point.
Yes. And the same thing with juvenile court, you know, like all these corrupt judges that put kids in jail for money. Well, they started this cycle of family court so that they can have crazy kids, or, you know, like they have to act out or to protect themselves. They have to do crimes to run away, right? And then they don't have the abuser don't give them candy or food, and then they stealing, and then they are in jail so that the money keep on going, you know, in the jail system. So it's all a wicked scheme, and people, you know, they they have grew up so I guess isolated, and also the media suppress. They don't let any, because we say we need to tell this to the world, and I have multiple mom also call the media the mainstream, and they always ignore and turn us down, and then they don't want to pick up the story, because if everyone know, then it will end all their meals ticket.
Well,
Right?
we have a friend, Jackie Kent, that's been all over the news. I think she's had 4 or 5 news coverages, and they have videos like he was smoking pot with the kid in the car. The kid tested positive for pot, and like all the stuff, and the judge was like, "Oh, we're not using the evidence." Like
And
they're
how
not using the
dare
evidence.
they? How dare they? And that's what, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old child.
And she has less custody than he does. She has every other weekend, and she's paying him child support. You know, like, and he's the abuser, he's the drug addict, he's, you know, it's because they want you to shut up, they want you to stop complaining, if you just be quiet. So that's what your kids start saying to you. So my guardian ad litem, Benjamin Balcom, got on stand and was like, 2 of your older 4 kids
That's not
want to live.
true. That's not true. Because I was quiet and I stopped. I don't, you know, after I realized, and then they're about to add a custody evaluator. I'm like, I don't have money. I'm sorry. And I'm tired of this. I'm just gonna go live with my abuse. You know, I'm like, Grace, you're just gonna pray God to somehow, you know, we keep on praying for daddy to change, but he hasn't changed for 5-7 years now. But you know, then we just gonna pray somehow God intervene. Well, I was quiet. And you know what they do? They pull you back in. And you know
Yeah.
how? By falsify witness. They call in CPS, the felon, you know, like the one that have criminal record, and they pay her off probably, or her friend, because she's had bankruptcy. So duh. And then they get up, come to your house, and then lie about your house, like completely lying, like there's nothing in my house for the baby boy, and like or then say that, you know, like I was saying earlier, Grace told her that she's scared mom never want to see her again, while we have all these evidence of videos of me and her hanging out, and the whole neighbor knows about how we have so much fun, and in the churches. But yeah, sure, they drag you in by conjuring up a criminal in a position of power, caseworker, who doesn't have, you know, people mistake, you know, that DHS CPS social worker, that's the wrong label. None of them a social worker. They are
Yeah.
caseworkers because
Yes,
social
they're
workers
They
get
don't
paid
even
caseworkers.
so
have a
much.
social worker degree. They don't have a
No,
degree
not at
to be a social worker.
all. Nope,
They
because
just,
if
they
do,
play the social worker position, but
but
some
they
of them don't
don't.
even have any, like, even basic education. So the
Correct.
problem is you record them. You record. If they're in your house, you record them. You record everything they say. You record everything they do, because that's what's gotten me the second time, because they tried to do all that to me. They tried to open a fake DSS case. They tried to do all that stuff to me 6 months later, like 6 months later, because I said to this guardian ad litem, I never consent. I didn't know this was consented. I'm not paying you $200 an hour. My second ex-husband had his own guardian ad litem that was ordered by the court. That guardian ad litem was done in 6 weeks. Never read his mental health records, never read his criminal records, never did anything, had a conversation with him, closed it out and said that he shouldn't have his rights terminated. Okay. Had a conversation with him, did not look into anything else. Okay.
Yep.
6 weeks, it was closed. So
Mhm.
6 months later, my Benjamin Balcom has never even had a conversation with me, because I'm emailing, calling, asking him to have a conversation with me, asking him to do his job, because I was supposed to get my kids back the night before. I'm supposed to get my kids back at 4:59 before we're supposed to have court the next day. That he finally contacts me and says, oh, I need to make a meeting. They intentionally don't do their job, knowing court is then, keep delaying it. And then in court, I didn't even know that the guardian ad litem was consented to, that the supervised visitation was consented to. This is the second time it happened to me in a total different county. And my lawyer knew that I would never agree to that.
Right.
And so
why would I consent my daughter to be given to my abuser that I asked for a protective order to begin with, and that I agree to, that I am guilty of things that I didn't do.
that day that he waited, till the night before, 1 minute before 5 o'clock to contact me on this, it started in February. This was like June. I should have gotten my kids back. He literally, on that day, my lawyer tried to sign me up for reunification therapist. I'm like, I haven't even not seen my kids. Like, I've been seeing my kids every week. I have the other 4. I'm not signing up for that. And I literally, that was when I said in open court, I didn't know this guardian ad litem was consented to. I never consented to this. I never consented to supervised visitation. This should have never been consented to. I'm not paying him $200 an hour. I was told that if the judge orders a guardian ad litem, if it's not consented to, the court pays for it. Okay. Just like this guardian ad litem that my ex-husband had for 6 weeks. If the court is paying for it, they're done in 6 weeks. Okay. They don't wait 6 months to start their job and still giving you a $200 an hour bill for reading your emails. They made me pay these people for emailing them like $3,000, $1,500 for reading my emails. And they're like, how many emails did she write in 2 years? Right. 6 emails. The guardian ad litem was like 10 emails. I had to pay these people $2,500 and $1,500.
They told us that it's 50-50, right? Whoever called the guardian ad litem supposed to pay. Well, they lie to you until
you pay everything.
See the bill, and then they ask for the bill and they won't give it, and then you have to do a Oklahoma bar complaint, and then finally you get the bill, and guess what? You look at it like, what the. You are paying for the ex to talk to the GAL, and you pay for the opposing counsel to talk to the GAL when you're not even there. So all these time, like, they're billing under you without telling you.
Yeah, it's pure
You
extortion.
understand how corrupt that is?
So my own lawyer,
it's like paying for someone to rape you.
Yeah.
It's like, or stab you in the back. And I'm like, why would I pay for you to talk bad about me and roll down whatever made up stuff about me, but that's what they do. So they keep on adding people, and then when you step away and you're like, I got laid off, I don't have money anymore, and you step away, they want to pull you back in because they're thinking like, oh, this whole year you probably have money by now, and create drama and hurting your kid and my child is in danger every day. She could be choked to death because he strangulated his pets now from anger escalation. And he, and you all know strangulation of pets is a step up from the next risk is homicide. And she could die. I'm like, if she died, that's on your heads, all of you.
My ex threatened to choke me out and kill me in front of 5 officers and a judge. 5 officers and a judge. Okay. 5 officers and a judge were in there. That same judge is my custody judge and let him have unsupervised driving during the day.
And you know what else is sad is if someone called, because I know this, from story from my friend. So her kids was court napped by CPS and sheriff deputy in Oklahoma, her 2 kids. And so when you or moms call in for help with the FBI, she said they didn't help her at all. They didn't even take her story seriously, and guess when they're talking on the phone with them and you try to tell them story, they would cut you off. They wouldn't even let you tell the story. They'll be like, number 1, what's your name? Number 2, like they take contact, like, no, I don't want to hear about that. They
You have to go in person.
Shut up, like, no, don't tell me, no, just answer these questions, right? They would stop you, and then when you start like over talking them, like, no, I need to say this so that it's recorded in the FBI line. Guess what? They're gonna scream and match your voice so that your voice cannot be heard of the horrific things done to the child, or there's a child trafficking ring somewhere, and they would like scream at you matching, and then they hang up on you. That's how corrupt it is. And that's the freaking FBI operator.
Well, there is a website called childabusive.judges.com.
Wow.
And you can add your judge and attorneys, and the man who's running it is a friend of mine, Kenneth Gottfried. He takes all these complaints to the FBI every week. They're not doing anything.
Exactly.
And he has compiled 330 plus judges that people have given him info on, and they don't want to hear about child psychological abuse and
or sexual abuse. They don't want to hear about sexual abuse.
Yeah, because that's supposed to be handled in the court. So why would they get involved? But they don't, like you said, child trafficking rings.
So the same judge that Judge Nathaniel Knutz that sat on stand, and he threatened to kill me on stand. He did write in my court order that he cannot molest my children. He did write that in the court order. Yeah, because my daughter was acting out.
The court orders, the conduct order is say the ex say, I promise not to sleep naked with.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like as to not go to trial. A couple of years ago, they promised that it's in there, and the Guardian Ad Litem just like, oh, that's normal, and he pretended it never happened, like as if it's never happened, like, oh, it's okay, And what else they do? So they pretend to, and they drag on more people, and then the therapeutic visit, they forbid you from saying anything. They're like, you cannot ask how she's doing, if she's been abused. You cannot ask about what's going on in the other house, and if you do, we will shut it down. You will never get to see your kid again. And then you have to pay like a couple hundreds an hour to see your child. And some mom, they even shut that down too. Like you couldn't even see the child. And so it's not really therapeutic because there's no therapy going on.
You having to pay to see your child, and then you have to pay child support. That's extortion. And that's what did you call in the beginning, Marianne, where they're keeping the child from you so they can, you don't have to pay child support?
Custodial interference.
Right. So I come to find out my ex-husband will let my older kids like drive over to my house like a couple weeks before court, just in and out of my house, like, or around the time we're about to go talk to somebody. All of a sudden they can come over every day. And then, right now that court is over, now that he has a child support order, they're not allowed to come over except for exactly the minutes and exactly the seconds. But yet he wants more time. Like, oh, we're going to the beach on your weekend. Oh, no, you're not, So the crazy thing is like, they do it right before court, but in court, he tries to act like, oh, he just sponsors whatever relationship that's with my kids. No, he has no sponsor of the relationships. I show up to all my kids' sporting events. I show up to all my kids' stuff. He doesn't because he's working or whatever. Like, I have my own schedule, so I can go in the morning and I'm usually done in the afternoon because, you know, half of our day is charting, right? So I actually have someone helping me chart now. So like that cuts up a lot of time so I can be there with the kids in the afternoon at evening. Cause for like 3 years I would go do my kids stuff in the afternoon once I got off, you know, out of school, all the sporting events, all the afternoon events, dinner, getting to bed. Then I would start charting at like 8 o'clock at night till 1 o'clock in the morning every night. And I did it for almost 3 years and then just get back up and start again at 6 o'clock in the morning. So dealing with, you know, an abusive person that didn't let you chart or didn't let you like do that kind of stuff, like come in and out of the room, like drunk, screaming, cussing you out. You know, even my sister lived with me at the time and she tried to help me, and her and I both would be in tears because we're like, how can we even get this done? Because he won't stop screaming and he won't just, because it would always get worse when the kids would go to bed and the alcohol would, you know, increase.
Right, imagine you're an adult and you don't even know how to deal with it. And imagine you're a kid and your brain hasn't developed yet. And how can you protect yourself? How can you even
These poor
survive?
kids.
I know.
Yeah. And the other thing is people like say, oh, you don't do enough. That's another false accusation for the moms. You know, because me and Amy are very driven, right? And we don't mind staying up late and filling all these complaints and paperwork, right? And we do everything already, like Attorney General, Oklahoma, like a bar complaint, like you every single checkbox I call. We did all of them, but imagine like a poor mom who couldn't be as driven. They didn't get to do all of them, and they're like, it's your fault. Your kid is still there because you didn't do all this checkbox. And we're here at the end. We're telling you, even if you do all the checkboxes, it will not be in your favor because the court system is set against loving mom and against children. They do not want children happy. They do not want children to be safe. Not at all. Not even safety. They don't care. And then the people need to hear that message and realize it. It is not that you don't do enough. It's a lie. And it's a lie that you're crazy, because I'm over here on the witness stand. We even have like 2-3 providers, neighbors. They all say, well, we know Lynn all her life. She's not crazy, you know. She's not mentally ill. And even my doctor wrote a note that I'm not mentally ill because he's a primary care. He can diagnose people with illnesses, right? And here it is, the Guardian Ad Litem and the caseworker, dumb person that couldn't even graduate college. Okay, they label me mentally ill. Okay, and I'm not. I have all these evidence, right? Witnesses, expert witness, because they're not expert witness. They don't have a psych degree. They don't have medical degree to diagnose, and yet they don't care. And they still say I'm mentally ill, and I will not be allowed to see my kid until I took a psych eval. Okay, think about that. Think about that, moms. All of you moms, even you have evidence that you're not crazy.
But you can pay them child support. You can't
right.
see them. You can pay them money because you're so crazy. You can pay them money.
Yes, and you're so crazy that you need to be locked up in the mental institute. But yet we expect you to have a full like, you know, like provider's salary, as if you're like a surgeon or like a cardiologist or a radiologist or things like that, and inflated your income. And yet you're mentally ill,
right?
And you shouldn't be with your kid at all, and you're so unsafe that you have to have a third person there, make sure that there's no harm done to your child, immediate danger, and yet you're allowed to be around other people's children, the clinic's children, you know. But that's a lie, and people need to realize it's the victim shaming.
Yes.
It's the same path as if like a rape victim, like,
gaslight.
You're being raped because you dress flatly, and guess what? When you talk to these people, this is the trick. They always ask you this: why do you think this happened to you and not other moms? You will notice they will ask you that question. You know, the FBI, the Attorney General, it doesn't matter. That's the freaking phrase that they're gonna use. Why? So you start doubting yourself, and you think like maybe it's just me.
Well,
But you know what I told them? It happened because of greed of money. That's the
agreed.
answer I gave
Yep.
them. I say, Jesus say the love of money is the root of all evil. And
Right.
and then I even told them, if you turn the blind eye to this, then it's on you, because I have presented it to you, and you could save a child, and you chose not to. And I always tell that to whoever I'm reporting to. Then God, when on Judgment Day, you will see my face, and you see my child's face, and you will be found guilty, and there'll be no mercy for you.
Right.
That's what I say.
Because
Well,
God's judge.
yes. I mean, I had an abusive caseworker scream at me for 2.5 hours on 2 different days. And she first started off
You
screaming.
should have recorded her.
Well, yeah, it's
They
like,
did, they did.
I
They
was
were
like,
representative.
yeah, well, I had my husband in the room, so I have a witness, but she was screaming, "Do you hate your ex more than you love your kids?" I'm like, wait a minute, what? I can't even comprehend what you're saying. What does that mean? I'm like, because it's like you burst into my home with your pleather cowboy boots, and now you're screaming at me for 2.5 hours, and then you leave. And then what she also did was call me at work. Here I was working in the ER, and I had 4 very sick patients. They were ICU. They were all going to ICU. And she calls me up, and I said, "Well, when is it going to be indicated for emotional child abuse?" And she screamed at me on the phone, "It'll be indicated when I tell you." And I just hung up the phone, because it's like, how dare you call and upset me at work when I have very sick patients to take care of? Out of control. These people, this child predatory services are out of control, and they need to be abolished, as well as family court.
Jay White's going to lose his license. I'm not the only one. I mean, he's kidnapping other people's children. He's all over the news for like 3 total different things right now, like criminal stuff, taking people's kids without without warrant to take their kids. The same thing. He's over DSS, signing the thing, putting people in group homes, and he's trying to put people in group homes. He's trying to put kids in foster care and all that stuff. So if he's trying on December 19th and December 22nd to put me in jail and kidnap all my 6 kids. So, what would Jay White do with my kids? Because they can't go to his dad. They can't go to their dad. They can't go to their grandparents, because the grandparents are not safe. They're not safe supervisors. If he were to cut me up into 100 million 100 pieces, they would bury me in the backyard and keep it quiet. Okay. So they're not safe. They are the reason he's an abuser is because they enable him to abuse. Okay. So they're not safe for my children. They're not safe for my they don't even care about my children's safety, because they were supposed to have 24-hour around the clock supervised visitation. And, same kind of thing, like, why are you rubbing my daughter's back? Why is my daughter acting out sexually inappropriately? Why is this stuff happening? If you're 24 hours around the clock, 2 supervisors, okay? 2 kids, 2 supervisors, 24-hour around the clock watching them, okay? Then why is this kind of stuff happening? And instead of punishing and moving back and saying, okay, yeah, we don't need to have overnights. What she said is like, he doesn't need to be driving them. We don't need to have overnights. They gave him more time. They gave him full weekends, but yet wrote in the court order, do not molest the children.
That is sick. Was he ever on the witness stand, Amy?
Yeah. I mean, he on the witness stand, said he was going to kill me. On the witness stand in front of 5 officers and a judge, the same judge, Judge Knutz, the same judge that wrote the order that said he could have unsupervised during the day, but supervised overnights. The same judge. I have all the recordings. I have all of them.
Yeah, and then and when even when you have recording, they alter the transcript.
They do.
They
but
do.
I have my one recording
that
he cannot alter that. And they think they have all of them. But my sister You know, he also threatened to kill her, and he had a criminal conviction against her also. So my sister had her own copy. So they thought that they took my copy for court because my lawyer had a copy, I had a copy. He thought, oh, I need to take your copy for court. And I said, well, I would never give you my last copy of anything. Never give you my last copy of anything. And I have another copy. My sister has that copy. And I'm showing you right now because this is my sister's copy, but it's my copy. And I'm going to get another one and see if it's changed. Okay.
Mhm.
So you cannot deny that he sat on stand and said that. And the bailiff took me outside, and after this was a year later. Okay. So I got a restraining order when he threatened to kill me on stand. A year later, Jay White was his lawyer. He didn't have a lawyer the first time. And they didn't renew my restraining order. He sat on stand and said he was going to kill me in front of the judge. Okay. They didn't renew my restraining order. It was a different judge. Okay. But
Oh, and guess
and a
what?
different lawyer. It should have been the same judge.
The judge wants you to die as a mom, because even for me, like domestic violence, and I'm a provider, I don't want people to know where I live. And I put, I had put my my address on my filing, like the address to my workplace, my public address. She keep purposely, when she sent the order, she purposely put my private address. And I'm like, reiteration of address change. I say, this is my address. When I enter your pro se, this is my address. I put down the address of my workplace, and she intentionally put your home address. So it's not like,
I wouldn't
it's
want
not
it.
innocent. It's
I wouldn't want it to
malicious
my
intent, that
workplace.
wanting out the mom to be killed, to be maimed, to be, abused, stalked, harassed. It's blatant corruption of the judges.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
not even like, oh, whoops, I make a mistake. Because if you made a mistake, I correct you, and I send you a motion. But she's so corrupt that she denied every single motion without hearing. She's like, this is my discretion, no hearing. All these motions after the child support.
I
Yeah.
did a lot of praying during my case, and I said, "Dear God, remove these people out of my life."
Yes, me
So
too.
God did. He removed the judge because the judge died.
Yes.
So,
That's what the Bible says. Like, don't you know that tonight your life will be snuffed out when you
mhm,
do these crime? I forgot what exact verse, but it was like about the greedy someone in authority. And
mhm,
then the Lord, the next verse say, and that very night his life was snuffed out.
mhm. And then the one attorney that represented me, I saw him aging before my eyes when I'd run into him at the courthouse. But, you know, God dealt with him too. He gave him a massive heart attack and he dropped dead.
Mm.
Exactly.
So God is very powerful. I don't know if these people realize this, that are very godless, taking children away from good, fit parents.
I mean, I don't mind if they take it away for greed and then they gave it to someone safe, then I will less worry, and less crime for the child and less grievous to the Lord. But the fact that they purposely give out children to sexual predators, sexual groomers, or abuser, child beater, and risk of being homicide, killed, that is a grievous to the Lord. And,
Mhm,
and the Lord say, vengeance is mine, and that
mhm,
he fight for the children and the widows. He
mhm,
loves, the voiceless, and they have to pay their crime.
And Lynn, that's why we have strength. That's why you and I have strength. And that's why we have the strength to keep fighting and to keep going, is because you and I are very strong in our faith, and we're strong in our, worship, and we're strong in our word. And like in the midst of, I know my God, like I know my justices now. There's an exposure time right now, and
mhm,
it's not just with us, it's everywhere. It's right now. The exposure time is so great. The exposure time is now, and the justice is right around the corner, where these men are going to go to jail for what they've been doing to us. These men are going to have to pay the consequences for what they've been doing to us. I've already had prophetic people tell me that both of my ex-husbands were going to have only nothing but supervised visitation. I've had prophetic people that don't even know what I'm going through, didn't even know I had two ex-husbands, didn't even know my kids were taken. And, like right now I have custody of my five, well, really six of them, but my oldest is not coming to my house because I've told her she needs to stay at her dad's if she doesn't want to have rules.
Mhm.
And she thinks because she turns 18 in a couple weeks that she can come back to to the house and be an adult. But I mean, I even have another close friend that her 20-year-old child, had issues with him like weeks, before or years before, then decided to come back and live with her in a 3-week period of time, was complete horrible hell for her. Right.
Mhm.
And she had to kick him out again because he still doesn't think he has to follow rules.
Mhm.
Kids think that once they change to an adult, they get to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter that you're paying for them to live. It doesn't matter that you're paying for their car. It doesn't matter that you're paying for everything for them. They think that they get to do what they want to do because they're an adult.
Mhm.
And that in the school system is teaching that.
Mhm.
And I even gave you that example last time about the school teacher system. I think even the counselors are saying,
yeah.
you can do whatever you want to do. You
Mhm.
get to make your own choices. You do whatever you want to do. The counselors are teaching them how to be a narcissist. Because if you're going to counseling for 2 years and you're getting worse, then something is wrong with that counselor. Something is truly wrong with that counselor.
Oh,
First,
eh,
I would never send my kids to a counselor that don't have God, right?
Mhm.
So there's a godless world. And if this counselor doesn't have God, they do not need to be speaking to my kids because
Mhm.
they're teaching them of the world. They're not teaching them of how they're supposed to behave. And so just like you said, your judge died and your lawyer had a heart attack, they're teaching my kids how to die.
Mhm.
Okay. They're
Mhm.
teaching my kids how to die. They're
Mhm.
not teaching my kids how to live. And you will live and you will not die. You are the daughter of the Most High King. You are the head and not the tail. You will walk in the righteousness of Jesus Christ. You will not walk with the world. I have the authority as your mother. You will,
Mhm.
you have to speak that into your kids' lives because you have the authority over them. Even if they're 20 years old,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter. You don't get to be 18 and then decide that you know what to do.
And I know, like, some parents are happy to get their kids back, and, they'll let them do whatever just so they don't have any, you know, backlash with them, or they won't discipline them because they're just so happy to get them back, and you've gotta
It's
still be a
worse.
parent. Yeah, you've still gotta be the parent and discipline them when they do something wrong.
And you were talking about I was feeling when even when they come back and they're broken, and then you have to be their healer again.
Mhm.
So talking about the healer, like I noticed it, like it's sad because they're attacking all these nurses and providers, right?
Mhm.
And we care so much, and yet we return with wickedness. So God said, if you return good with evil, evil will never leave your house. Okay, and that's America.
Wow.
They are returning the good of nurses and doctors that work to death to heal them, to save their lives, and they return with us with torment,
Mhm.
abusing of our kids. Well, guess what? We're so stressed out that we can't even eventually, like, we're so blocked out with all these legal crap and lawyer and broken and bank, like no money left, right? Borrowing money left and right. That will be disabled, like cannot
Right.
work anymore, right? Eventually, because that's
Mhm.
what happened to a lot of nurses and moms. Well, then your population of nurses and doctors is going to go down, and here you are complaining about you don't have enough doctors, we don't have nurses, we have shortage of things. The shortage is created by the freaking legal system.
Right.
They keep on suing left and right for malpractice that is not, some majority of them is fake and not even true. There are a few cases that are true, and then they attacked us in family court and they disable, and then so stop complaining about the shortage of nurses and
Yeah.
doctors. It's on you judges and lawyers, and
Mhm.
you wonder why your healthcare is so bad
Right.
and why
So
your health
I
gonna
have
go
a good
down.
story
It's
with the
because you started.
Mhm.
lawyer. So Donna Johnson is now my current first ex-husband, Matthew Bledsoe's lawyer, which was, given over by Jay White. Jay White's still touching and going when he's ordered not to even be on his case.
Mhm.
So Donna Johnson used to be a judge, and then she dropped out and was a lawyer. So someone had given me her name a while back. Well, I went to her to consult to get paid the $250, whatever, sat down. And I remember the only thing she wrote down on her page was the name of my first ex-husband, Matthew Bledsoe. And I was going to get divorced from my second ex-husband, Brad Urban. She wrote down Matthew Bledsoe's name on her paper because I had said that his family were multimillionaires. That's all she wrote down on her paper. And she literally told me that she would not, because I was starting to cry while I was telling my story. She said she wouldn't take my case because I couldn't, like, if I can't stop crying by now, then she can't represent somebody like me. And I said, you have no heart. Like, you have no, she even told me that the reason why she was working less and became a lawyer instead of a judge or whatever was because her mother was in a nursing home. I said, well, I have nursing homes full of patients. Like, I take care of them. I let them call me 24/7, day, night, weekends, these homes, and call me when, you know, I'm sitting at the Thanksgiving table and they're ringing my phone. I let them call me an emergency and all the time. She can't even handle her one family member in a home that she's not even with her 24/7. Okay. Somebody else they're taking care of her. You're not having to do that. So why do you have to cut down to, it's like putting your kid in,
it's like let's
putting
chop
your kid
up all
in
the
daycare.
doctors and nurses.
It's like putting your kid in daycare and saying I have to sit at home or work less because my kids are in daycare. That doesn't make sense. So, I mean, they just lie, they manipulate, they steal, they write down the people's name that they're gonna make money off of, and they're like, oh, you have a multimillionaire against you. When that multimillionaire, when I get an opportunity to represent him, I'll do that, but I'm not gonna help you.
Yeah, it's all about money. Yeah, but
And people
glad.
ask, like, how can the ex who is poor, you know, because they were like saying maybe because you're not millionaire, so you're not winning. But it's not true. It's all about the abuser winning because they know that you will protect the child, and you know the relatives, the grandparents, whatever, whoever keep on dumping money to help. That's why they stage it this way. And because my ex, I'm like, people like, how can he even survive all these legal fees, all these years, right? Having no money. Well, people don't know it, but they, when I did discovery, I saw, not me, but my past lawyers, discovery for bank statements from his bank, $50 a month for legal fees for the rest of his life. How can you win against that? Even if you're a millionaire, $50 a month. So I'm like, well, how do they make this money? So, and there's a lot of investigation about the people that did it, you know, and they told me this is how they did it. So behind the poor person's $50 a month, and then the other opposing counsel, my counsel or your counsel, whoever's paying.
So I think they get reimbursement from the state.
They give a cut to this other guy. They give a cut.
They get reimbursement. The state is paying them to represent the poor.
Oh, no, he hired this one.
You get reimbursement for that. You get reimbursement for that. So say that person is only paying $50 of their $50,000 bill. They can write that off on their taxes.
Oh, I didn't know. Even though it's not a pro bono, it wasn't a pro bono case. This is like an actual hired.
Well, even if they're not paying it, they can write it off on their taxes. So say even like Medicaid and Medicare, say there's a $300 charge for like a doctor visit, right? And we only get they only pay our office like $80, right? And the rest of that money is all written off on taxes. Okay, I don't get that write-off.
They can do that for lawyers,
but the office is supposed to get a write-off for that rest of that money that didn't get paid. So I don't get a write-off, which, you know, I probably should because I am a partner, but that's the office gets a write-off for the rest of that money. So that's what is happening with these lawyers, and they're double dipping. Like, so my ex-husband, the second ex-husband, Jay White was paid for by the state to be his lawyer, because termination of parental rights, you get a free lawyer, right? Or you get paid for by the state. The state pays for it. Well, they still tried to make me pay his lawyer fees. So he actually had two different bills. He had one like $16,000 and something, one $15,000 and something bill. And they ordered me to pay one of them, but not the other one. because I did say, well, he's already charged the state, like he was a state lawyer to represent him, but then you want me to pay his lawyer fees on top of, he was already probably gone to the state and got money from him, you know, because he was his state lawyer. So, you know, I'm not.
So
No,
it's not about money, because people are like, well, you know, if you have enough money, you win. I'm like, that's a
No.
lie.
no.
You need to stop it, because even if you're a millionaire, it doesn't matter. It will never end. This torment and abusive system of kids with the intent, malicious intent to hurt women and children, the good ones, or
Yeah.
a few good men that's intended to hurt good people, to promote injustice. That's what it is. And just this, don't victim blaming, stop victim blaming. And, you know, I want to encourage the moms out there, like, even if you're perfect, like nothing, it doesn't matter. It's not because of you that you lost your child, and they made it, they lied to you, and they're like, oh, you're past, you know, because I know some mom that have some blemish in their record, like they used to drink alcohol when they were younger or whatever, and they use it against them and take away their kids. And or saying that you're crazy, you don't deserve your kids. Even crazy people doesn't mean that you're not fit for parent. There's so many crazy people out there that I diagnosed, and they're on, like, you know, psych meds, and they still have their children. So that's also another lie.
And that's the thing, is like, I don't take any, that was my, so I did tell you before that I was put in jail for not, in Mecklenburg County, for not doing enough psych evaluations, even though I did all the psych evaluations. And then they were trying to, again, do this exact same thing, put me in jail in Cabarrus County for not doing psych evaluations. I had 2 psychiatrists evaluate me, and they said, oh, she tried to do it, I'm not going to put her in jail, but she didn't do what the order said. The psychiatrist had the order. They had the order. They're a psychiatrist. It says an assessment, a comprehensive assessment. Do you think a psychiatrist does not know what an assessment is? Do you think a psychiatrist does not know what their job is?
But the court apparently is a master of psychiatry and a master of a medical degree, because they diagnose like medical abuse by the mom all the time with the stupid Munchausen. And I'm like, I'm over here, I know Munchausen, we document it. And if it's not in the chart, caseworker cannot freaking diagnose, and they use that to take away kids. Is Munchausen.
Well,
And
I'd like to have you guys back on again in the near future.
So hopefully neither of us before this, we're praying right now, we're calling out for justice, and we're demanding justice here before even Christmas, that neither of us are put in jail. The orders for us to pay all this crazy amount of money stops right now in Jesus' name, and that we have sole custody of all of our children. And we command justice now. Any FBI agent listening, any lawyer listening, any person that's seeking justice, anybody that is, you know, gonna do a class action lawsuit, we're on.
Excellent. Hey, don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again with Amy and Lisa here in the future, and other exciting guests. Thank you so much for popping on.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.